Imagine this. You're trapped in a valley, cut off from the world. Enemy tanks closing in, mortars shaking the ground. And then the radio crackles. The general's voice, cold, final. No air support. Do you copy? No jets, no cover. Tow hope. For SEAL Team Echo, those words fell like a death sentence. The Valley of Death, 30 miles east of the border. The valley was a cage. Mountains loomed like prison walls. The sunset painted the ridges in blood-red light. SEAL Team Echo crouched behind broken walls, guns trembling in their hands. Each mortar impact crawled closer, shaking dirt into their eyes. Every man knew the enemy was tightening the noose. Chief Ramirez pressed his back against shattered stone, headset digging into his skull. Sweat dripped into his eyes, stinging. He clenched his jaw, forcing out a single word into the comms. Copy, but his voice cracked. And in that crack, every soldier heard it. They weren't going to be saved, without air power, without the scream of jets or the grind of gunships. They weren't warriors anymore. They were prey. Private Dawson, the youngest, looked at the sky. It was so empty, so silent. Like even heaven had turned its back. Ramirez's burden. Ramirez felt his men's eyes on him. They needed hope. They needed leadership, but what could he give them? He spat blood into the dirt. His ribs ached where shrapnel had grazed him. He wanted to tell them it would be okay. That backup was coming. That someone somewhere would not abandon them. But he couldn't. The general's words echoed too loud in his head. No air support. He lowered his gaze. He knew they were out of time, the forgotten hangar, and yet, far away on the edge of the base, something stirred. Hangar 14, a place left to rot. Its doors groaned as dust poured from rusted rails. Inside stood a figure no one had expected to ever see again. Helmet tucked under her arm. Eyes, storm gray, unblinking, locked on a glowing map. Friendly units flickering red. Men about to be erased. Her name, Captain Evelyn Ross. Once she had been a legend. The pilot who flew lower, faster, deadlier than anyone else. But legends don't sit well with brass. Her name had been buried. Her wings clipped. Her file rewritten. Logistics officer. A desk. A clipboard. A cage made of paperwork. They tried to erase her. Tried to turn her into a ghost, but some ghosts refused to stay dead. Behind her sat the beast she once commanded, the A-10 Warthog. Its paint was chipped, the shark mouth scarred and faded. Its engines were silent, like an old predator in chains. Decommissioned, forgotten. But Evelyn knew the truth. She remembered the smell of jet fuel at midnight. The thunder of the GAU-8 Avenger cannon ripping through armor, the recoil that shook her bones, and the silence that followed. Silence filled with gratitude. From men who survived because she was there, and silence filled with grief. For the ones she couldn't save. The breaking point now, as the general's words echoed, no air support. Evelyn felt something inside her snap, her jaw locked. Her eyes narrowed. We'll see about that. She gripped the cold steel ladder. Each step up clanged like a declaration. She wasn't done. Not yet. Sliding into the cockpit didn't feel like rebellion. It felt like gravity, like this was where she was always meant to be. The canopy hissed shut, sealing her fate. Her gloves moved with muscle memory. Switches flicked. Fuel pumps hummed. Lights blinked awake one by one. The Warthog groaned. Not dead, just sleeping. And now awakened. Engines coughed, then roared. Dust blasted across the hangar. Mechanics turned their heads in disbelief. The forgotten hog was alive again. And the pilot no one remembered was about to remind them all. Meanwhile, in the valley, Ramirez crouched low as the ground shook with approaching armor. Enemy APCs growled forward. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching like claws. Dawson's voice cracked. "Sir, they're not coming, are they?" Ramirez wanted to lie, to protect the boy, but he couldn't. He squeezed Dawson's shoulder hard, forcing strength into his tone. "We hold, as long as we can." But inside, his heart was already counting down the minutes. Minutes until Echo Team was erased. The men braced for the end, because the sky above them was silent. Silent for now, but not for long. Because across the base, in a forgotten hangar, Air Ghost had just returned to the fight, and soon the world would remember her name. Inside Hangar 14, Evelyn sat strapped into the seat. The cockpit lights glowed across her face. Her hands hovered over the starter switch. She hesitated, because she knew what this meant. If she rolled this hog onto the runway now, it wasn't just breaking orders, it wasn't just rebellion, it was the end of her career, maybe even her freedom. Court-martial wasn't just a word, it was a promise. But she also knew what silence would mean. It would mean Ramirez and his men would never see another sunrise. Her jaw tightened. Her mind flashed back to a voice she had never forgotten. Years ago, a soldier on a burning convoy had whispered into his comms, "You were the only one who showed up." "Don't stop now," that voice still echoed inside her. And tonight it gave her the answer. She slammed her hand down. The starter switch roared to life. The Hog's twin engines coughed, then screamed awake. Dust blasted across the floor. The hangar trembled. For the first time in months, the beast was alive. Mechanics in the distance froze, staring with mouths open. Nobody had seen this jet move in years. But Evelyn wasn't waiting for permission. She rolled the Hog forward. The forgotten pilot was done being forgotten. The valley waits for death. Meanwhile, 2 miles away in the valley, SEAL Team Echo braced for their last stand. Enemy APCs rolled closer. Their engines growled like predators closing in. Mortar fire shook the ground in a steady rhythm. Dawson whispered again, his voice small. "Sir, they're not coming, are they?" Ramirez couldn't lie. He wanted to give the boy hope. But all he could do was grip his shoulder tighter. "We hold," he said, "as long as we can." But even as he said it, he knew. Time was running out. The enemy's mockery. The radio crackled, this time not with the general's voice, but with laughter. Cold, cruel laughter. Enemy forces had switched to open channels, mocking the Americans. "No angels in the sky for you tonight. No savior. You will burn with the sunset." The words stabbed like knives. Some men lowered their heads, whispering prayers. Ramirez clenched his teeth, anger boiling. If this was how it ended, they'd make the enemy pay in blood. But then, the ground trembled, not from tanks, not from mortars, from something deeper. A rumble that every soldier knew but hadn't dared hope for. The beast appears. At first it was just a shadow, then a shape. Wings wide, and then through the smoke and haze, the shark mouth appeared. The A-10 Warthog. Its engines howled like a predator's roar. Its presence filled the valley. And in that moment every man froze. Friend and foe alike tilted their heads to the sky. Because they all knew what that sound meant. Captain Evelyn Ross was airborne, and with that the general's order was shattered. Air support had arrived. The first strike, the GAU-8 Avenger cannon spun. Its growl wasn't sound. It was apocalypse. 7 barrels unleashed hell at nearly 4,000 rounds per minute. Each shell slammed into the valley with the weight of thunder. The first enemy APC erupted in fire. Its turret tore into the sky. Infantry scattered, their jeers turning into screams as the ground itself exploded beneath them. For Echo Team, it was like heaven had torn open and decided they weren't forgotten after all. Ramirez lifted his head, disbelief painted across his face. "No way," he whispered. Dawson grabbed his arm, eyes wide. "Sir, is that an A-10? The sky screamed again as Evelyn banked low, the Hog's shark mouth grinning with fury. Every burst of the Avenger was more than firepower. It was a declaration that Echo Team was not abandoned. Not tonight. Inside the cockpit, Evelyn's hands were steady, her breathing calm. Years of muscle memory guided her every move. Switch, glance, correction, trigger. She flew low, too low. So low the ridges scraped past her wingtips. Daring the mountains to strike her down, her comms lit up. The command tower barked in fury. "Unidentified Hog, you are flying unauthorized. State your call sign immediately." She ignored them. The voice returned, harsher. "This is a direct violation of orders. Disengage or you will face consequences." Evelyn flipped the channel off. The only voices that mattered were the ones trapped in the valley. She switched to the emergency frequency, the one used by soldiers in extremis. Her voice was calm, steady, unshakable. "This is Warthog inbound. Echo Team, mark your position with smoke." "I've got you." Hope ignites. For a moment the seals froze. Ramirez blinked in disbelief. Warthog. "Who the hell?" He stopped himself. It didn't matter. White smoke. "North wall." 2 o'clock, he barked. On the ground a canister hissed. A plume of white smoke curled into the sky. Evelyn banked hard, throttles wide open. The Hog's engine screamed. Her targeting pod locked on the ridge. Enemy forces clustered tight, perfect. The cannon spun. The ridge vanished in fire. Men who had been seconds from death now scrambled forward, hope flooding back into their veins. Ramirez's voice roared again, full of new life. "Move! She's bought us a window. Don't waste it!" Dawson's eyes shone as he stared upward. "Who is she, sir?" Ramirez didn't answer. He didn't need to, because deep inside he already knew. This wasn't just any pilot. This was the legend they had whispered about. The ghost erased from the records tonight. The forgotten pilot had returned. The enemy strikes back. The valley shook with fury. Tanks repositioned. Turrets swung skyward. And fresh anti-air units rolled into place. The enemy wasn't running anymore. They had one goal now: clip the Hog's wings. Inside the cockpit, Evelyn's radar screamed. Locked tones flashed across her HUD. 1, 2, 3. She gritted her teeth. "All right, come and get me." She yanked the stick hard. The Hog climbed, rattling like every bolt wanted to tear free. Missiles streaked upward, white spears of death chasing her tail, too close. "Way too close," Salif, voices of desperation. "Warthog, they're painting you heavy." Ramirez's voice cracked through her comms. "You need to pull back." But Evelyn didn't pull back. She pushed forward, straight into the teeth of fire. Her cannon spun. The night exploded. Enemy tanks erupted one by one. A chain of fireballs lit the valley like a second sun. The shockwave rolled over both friend and foe, a brutal reminder of the Hog's power. Echo Team ducked behind cover, shielding their faces from the searing heat. When they looked up again, the armor threat was gone. Only the Hog remained, circling, refusing to leave. The general had tried to erase her. The enemy was trying to kill her. But Evelyn Ross was still here, and she wasn't leaving Echo behind. The Hog bleeds. But even legends aren't invincible. Evelyn's HUD flashed red. Fuel low, ammo draining fast, hydraulics screaming. Her knuckles whitened on the stick as warning lights blinked across her cockpit like angry stars. The Hog groaned under the strain. Shrapnel from near misses rattled against her fuselage. The right wing shuddered violently. She whispered under her breath, "Stay with me, just a little longer." Echoes fight to survive. On the ground, Ramirez shoved his men toward the ruined shell of a farmhouse. "Move! Keep moving!" Mortar rounds pounded the earth, tearing trenches into the soil. Private Dawson collapsed behind a wall, gasping for air. His hands trembled as he fumbled with his rifle. "Sir, I thought we were done. I thought—" "Don't think," Ramirez snapped, dragging him to cover. "That pilot bought us minutes. We make them count, but even Ramirez knew minutes weren't enough. Not against an army. Not against missiles designed to kill aircraft like hers." The SAM's awaken Evelyn's RWR screamed again. This wasn't small arms fire. This was bigger, heavier. Her stomach dropped. Mobile SAM launchers had arrived. Her voice was calm, clipped, steady. "Echo, be advised. They've brought out anti-air. My window is shrinking." Ramirez swore under his breath. "Copy. Do what you can, Warthog." Evelyn smirked behind her mask. "Do what I can." That's always been the story. She rolled the Hog low, lining up the ridge. Her targeting pod lit up with enemy signatures, 3 SAMs. She squeezed the trigger. The Avenger barked. The first launcher vanished in fire. The second exploded in smoke. The third survived. Its crew scrambled. A missile streaked skyward. The warning tone shrieked in her headset. The near kill, she yanked the stick, the Hog screaming in protest. The missile closed fast. Too fast. She dumped flares. The missile ignored them. 10 seconds. 8. 6. Her chest tightened. At the last second, she chopped the throttle. The Hog dipped, bleeding altitude so violently her stomach lurched. The missile overcorrected, then streaked past, detonating behind her tail. The cockpit filled with alarms. Shrapnel slammed into her fuselage. Smoke trailed from her wing, but she was still alive. The Hog was wounded, but not finished. Neither was she. The general's fear back at command, chaos exploded. The general slammed his fist onto the table. "She's gone rogue." "She's going to get herself shot down and take my operation with her." A colonel cleared his throat. "Sir, with respect, she's saving our men." The general's glare could have cut steel. "She's disobeying a direct order. If she lives, I'll court-martial her myself." But inside, behind his rage, the general felt something he would never admit. Fear. Because if she succeeded, it meant he had been wrong. It meant his decision wasn't caution. It was cowardice, and that terrified him more than the enemy ever could. The legend returns down in the valley, Echo team regrouped in the ruins. Exhausted, bloodied, alive. Ramirez pressed his earpiece. "Warthog, you still up there?" Static. Then her voice came through, calm, steady, unshakable, still flying. A silence fell over the men. That voice, low-clipped, undeniably female, it stirred something inside them. They had been abandoned by command, betrayed by their leaders. But somewhere above, a ghost refused to leave. Dawson's eyes gleamed. "Sir, it's her, isn't it?" Ramirez turned sharply. "Who?" "The one they talk about. The one who flew lower than anyone else. The one who didn't care about orders, only the men on the ground." His voice trembled, but it carried awe. "The one they erased." Ramirez didn't answer. He didn't need to, because deep inside he knew the truth. Legends never really die. They only wait for the night they're needed most, and tonight the legend had returned. The hog fights on. Black smoke curled from the hog's right wing. Every alarm in the cockpit screamed like a choir of death. Hydraulics failing, fuel bleeding out, ammo counter flashing red. Evelyn's hands gripped the stick so tight her knuckles ached under her gloves. The hog groaned, wounded but still flying. Down in the ruins, Echo team stared at her silhouette against the dusk sky. "She's hit," Ramirez muttered. Dawson's voice cracked. "Then why is she still up there?" Ramirez didn't answer, because deep down he already knew. She wasn't flying for herself. She was flying for them. One more run, fresh locks screamed across her HUD. Man-portable launchers flashed from the orchards. Missiles hissed upward. She dumped flares, dove low, shredded the orchard with short bursts of cannon fire. 2 launchers vanished, but a third missile still streaked toward her. She knifed the hog down, engines howling. The missile blossomed harmlessly above. Her airframe rattled like it wanted to fall apart. But Evelyn whispered to the beast, "Stay with me. Just stay with me. Fuel 35%. Ammo 20%. An army still hunting her. She flipped to an old frequency. "Spur kilo, hot pit. Anything? Static." Then a rough female voice. "About time someone remembered us. This is Sergeant Ward. Strips bad, lights worst, but we've got gas and belts. You coming quiet or loud?" Evelyn smiled beneath her mask. "Loud. The pit stop from hell." She broke from the valley, trailing smoke. Echo team watched in panic. Ramirez keyed his mic. "Warthog, confirm you're not leaving us. Static." Then her voice clipped, steady. "Echo, I'll be back. Hold." The forward strip came into view. A broken road lit by trucks and headlights. Desperate crew waving glowing wands. Evelyn slammed the hog down. Gear half broken, tires screeching, sparks flying. The jet fishtailed, then steadied. Hot pit refuel. Engines still roaring. Hammer slammed in, fresh belts rattling. Rockets loaded. Ward climbed the ladder halfway, locking eyes with her through the canopy. "You owe me this jet back," Evelyn smirked. "I'll bring it with dents." The hog was alive again. And so was the fight, the monster Sam. But when she lifted back into the night sky, a new sound screamed in her headset. Lower, colder, relentless. This wasn't man-pads. This wasn't mobile launchers. This was worse. A radar-guided Sam dug deep into the ridgeline. One the commanders swore wasn't even in this sector, but it was here. And it had her locked. Her gut sank. The hog couldn't outrun it. Not crippled like this. Down below, Dawson whispered to Ramirez. "That sound, it's different." Ramirez's face hardened. "It's big. Too big." The gamble Evelyn's mind raced. She couldn't dodge forever. She couldn't climb. But maybe, just maybe, she could trick it. She banked toward the ridge. Her targeting pod locked the SAM crew. She squeezed bursts. The ridge exploded, fire chasing the scrambling crew. But the launcher wasn't dead. It spat a missile skyward. The lock tone screamed in her ears. 10 seconds to impact. "Come on," she whispered to the hog. "You've got more in you." "I know you do." At 6 seconds, she chopped throttle. The hog dipped, losing lift. The missile dove too sharp. She punched throttle again, engines roaring like thunder. The hog clawed upward. The missile tore past, detonating ahead. Shrapnel shredded her nose cone. Her cockpit rattled with metal hail. Warning lights flared everywhere. But she was still alive. Evelyn rolled, lined the ridge again, and this time she didn't feather the trigger. She held it down. The Avenger screamed. The ridge vanished in smoke and fire. When it cleared, the launcher was gone. The last burst echo cheered, voices breaking with relief. Ramirez shouted, "She's got our 6!" But when Evelyn glanced at her gauges, her stomach dropped. Fuel 18%. Ammo 120 rounds. Barely 2 bursts left. Her console lit up like a Christmas tree. Hydraulics near collapse. The general's voice crackled over comms. "Warthog, disengage immediately." "That's an order!" Evelyn's lips curled into a cold smile. "Court-martial me later. Men are still alive down there." The final run echo's last transmission came through, broken, desperate. "Warthog, we're out of ammo, pinned from 3 sides. If you've got one more run in you." "Make it count." Her throat tightened. She looked at her ammo counter. 120 rounds, it had to be enough. "Copy," she whispered. She skimmed the treetops, the shark mouth grinning wide in the firelight. Tracers sliced past her canopy. Missiles streaked. But she didn't flinch. She locked the densest cluster of armor and infantry and squeezed. The Avenger roared. The valley erupted. Steel, fire, and earth tore upward in a storm that erased the enemy's front line. When the smoke cleared, silence. The survivors didn't advance. They broke. They ran. Echo Team lifted their heads. For the first time all night, the battlefield belonged to them, the fight to land. But Evelyn wasn't done. The Hog was barely airborne. Smoke poured from its wounds. The right wing dipped low, hydraulics groaning. She turned toward the forward strip. Ward's crew had lit it with every vehicle they had. The Hog came in crooked, sparks flying, gear failing. The wing nearly scraped asphalt. Evelyn fought the stick with every muscle she had. Slam, bounce, sparks, screech, and then the Hog rolled to a stop. Silence, the only sound. The ticking of hot metal. Ward's voice came soft in her headset. "Welcome home, Hog. The world remembers back at command." The general stared at the radar feed in disbelief. His no air support order lay in ashes. His authority shattered forever. In the valley, Ramirez keyed his mic. His voice cracked with gratitude. "Whoever you are." "Thank you." Evelyn removed her helmet. Sweat streaked her face. Her chest rose and fell, heavy with exhaustion, and for the first time in years she felt the truth. She wasn't forgotten. She never had been, because the world always remembers. The warrior who flies when everyone else says, "It's over."